produced a record amount of crude oil and natural gas. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Senator, I believe that President Biden wants energy.
Good thing or bad thing that we produced a record amount of crude oil and natural gas?
Well, I agree that we have a record amount of production on federal lands and...
No, not on federal. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I'm just a simple question.
Well, I think that energy independence for our country is a good thing.
Because 2 weeks ago, Secretary of Energy Granholm told the committee, good thing, so you agree with her?
Senator, I think that energy production on our public lands is at an all-time high. We're grateful that we have been able to produce energy, specifically also our work on clean energy.
It doesn't seem like you're helping so much because of what we've talked about in my opening statement. So the Rock Springs Resource Management Plan would, among other things that you proposed, prohibit oil and natural gas exploration on more than 2 million acres. It would ban trona production on over 2 million acres. It would severely restrict all surface uses of 1.6 million acres. The governor, congressional delegation, state legislature, county commissioners in Wyoming, local communities all strongly oppose this plan by your department. I just want to know, how can the department be a good partner to Wyoming if it ignores the opposition from the people who are most affected by this plan?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and I do also appreciate your opening statement and want you to know that I apologize. This project has also been referred to as Sweetwater, and so that's what I have been calling it. We appreciate that your governor put together a constructive task force. We're taking those recommendations as well as all the public comments we get very seriously, as we always do. We expect that the task force, as well as the many people who took the time to weigh in on the draft plan, will see their comments reflected in a final plan that best balances, as I have always promised, to manage our public lands with a balance, the many important uses in the Rock Springs or Sweetwater area, such as grazing, trona mining, recreation, and wildlife migration.
Because this proposed plan is a stake at the heart of the Wyoming economy. The department needs to listen more to the people of Wyoming, and I would appreciate all your efforts in that area. Because I want to go to it also, the Bureau of Land Management, another rule called the Public Lands Rule, that's going to turn decades of multiple use mandate on its head. You just said you're for a lot of these things, but that rule isn't. It is going to allow third parties to lease public lands to block the productive use of the land. These lands, we're not talking about national parks, we're not talking about wildlife refuges, we're not talking about wilderness. These are lands that Congress has specifically made available for grazing, as you mentioned, for energy, for mineral production, for recreation. I mean, the three big parts of the Wyoming economy: agriculture, energy, tourism. So I don't know how non-use of land qualifies as the productive use of land. Could you explain that to me?
Thank you very much, Senator. And since I have been in this committee during my confirmation hearings, I have promised to manage our public lands in a balance, and that's what this rule seeks to do. It makes conservation on par with BLM's other uses in our multi-use mandate, recreation and grazing, consistent with BLM's multiple use and sustained yield mission. It enables the BLM to manage public lands to maintain their health and function for years to come, because we believe we have an obligation to future generations for those public lands. Well,
it does sound like when I read through this public lands rule, you'd be happy if all the land went away, if people rented it all, took it all, and then just put it all non-use. So I think that what you're saying is not at all true in terms of what the intent of the law is, to allow multiple use for productive use of the land. And one other area, the Bureau of Land Management has yet to issue leases to the winning bidders of its December 2020 onshore oil and gas leases. These were paid for, $7 million, went to the Treasury. Government took the money. The law says the leases must be issued in 60 days. When do you plan to issue these leases to the winning bidders who paid for the leases back 3 years ago?
Thank you, Senator. I want to assure you that BLM is following the law. We're holding regular onshore lease sales.
That's not the question. The question is, leases have been sales, money's been paid, $7 million taken in. You're supposed to put out the lease in 60 days. They handed you the wrong paper to read the wrong answer. You had 3.5 years to issue the leases. Will you commit to issue them in the next 30 days?
Thank you, Senator. As soon as I get back to my office, I will double-check on this issue and make sure that we give you the status when we get back to our office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. And to follow up on that, is there a penalty for not, is there